What's up? What's up? My name is Amir Zendanam. We are live right now. I am going to be talking about how to stay happy and healthy through the chaos that is going on around the country, around the world. And we are going to have an epic conversation about health, wellness, safety. I'm going to be here for about an hour. Just talking about how you can be happy and healthy and different practices that you can integrate into your life to obtain optimal health and happiness through any moment, including the chaos that's going down right now, which is the downfall of an empire. Check out speckercbd.com because this is a way that I stay very happy and healthy all the time. Sublingual, keep it in there under your tongue for a little bit. Then you could swallow it. But I did not come here to just talk about CBD. I came here to talk about all different kinds of. What's up, Daniel? How you doing, bro? Good to see you in here. We're talking health and happiness, optimal health and happiness. If you have any questions, please ask in the comments. Just waiting for some more people to get in the chat right now. I am on Instagram and I am on Facebook Live as well. So let's have a nice conversation here today. I'm gonna be here for about an hour. I'm just trying to do more of these lives because my inbox is just full of questions and I can't answer all of them. I run a business and, a lot of people see me posting on social media every day, but they don't realize like those are scheduled times that I'm posting. And then when I'm not on social media, I'm actually doing a lot of work. So, this is me taking an hour out of my schedule to be able to come here and just talk about the things that I'm just getting messages about all the time that I just don't have the ability to respond to anymore. I did a few years ago, but now as my company is growing, it's very, very hard for me to keep up with all of the messages with all of the different kinds of questions. So, that's why I'm here doing lives all the time and just trying to have conversations with y'all so that I can answer your questions in detail, because a lot of the questions that I'm getting are detailed answers that it's not like a one sentence answer kind of thing, so it's something that I preferably would talk about. So if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. Let's get this conversation started. Daniel says fasting balls off and keeping it carnivore. Good job, Daniel. I am very impressed and happy about the gains that you've made since I've known you. You've been going hard, keeping it principled with optimal health at the forefront of your mind. You're doing great, bro. It is not an easy transition getting to an optimal place, but you are doing everything necessary to get you there. If anybody has any questions about different health and happiness practices, I'm going to be talking about the different things that I do to keep me healthy and happy through any moment in life. And I'm going to be here for about an hour until I have to go back to work because I'm doing work tonight. Again, this is just so I can be here and answer people's questions in detail, discuss some topics in detail, because there's a lot of shit going on right now in the world that needs detailed explanations. I see a lot of people are waking up to what the system actually is, and if you're one of those people, it's a long journey. It's a long, hard journey that takes many years to really start seeing what the truth is, because through the awakening process, there's a lot of misinformation that goes down, And because of that, it's your responsibility to be able to sift through that information and be able to figure out what is right and wrong. And the problem is that I keep seeing a lot of people who are just posting misinformation, and it's part of their awakening process, but it's still misinformation. And it sounds right, but this is why I'm not down for organizations like Q Anonymous or QAnon, whatever they're called. What's up, David? How you doing, bro? We out here chatting again. So they're calculated efforts to spread misinformation, and it's up to us to be able to figure out what is right and what is wrong. And that's why I want to focus on the concepts of optimal health and happiness, because those are concepts that are more easily accessible than going on YouTube and typing in like this conspiracy, and then you have to watch a bunch of these videos, and the people making these videos too aren't the most intellectually scholarly minded people. They are also people who are just going through their awakening process, and if they've been in that process, time doesn't really matter. I've known some people that have been in this movement for decades who still don't see the full picture. So the first thing that is the most important aspect to your health and happiness is yourself, and putting yourself first. So if you can accept that primary premise of you come first before everybody else, and if you are not 100% safe yourself, then others aren't going to be. So hey, what's up, Jojo? How you doing, my brother? Good to see you in here. Daniel, you've already asked me if I watch Bart K, and no, I don't. I've seen some of his videos. I don't consider him somebody who's in the optimal health space. If you're in the optimal health space and you're not an optimal health practitioner, then I don't really give a shit what you have to say, because actions speak louder than words. So yeah, that guy seems to have a lot of nice words, but past that, I am not really like, it's just another carnivore guy, right? So I spend my time watching way more valuable content or just reading primary source research. That's why I don't spend too much time on YouTube watching people regurgitate studies, because I read the same studies. So I can smell the bullshit from a mile away. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask them in the comments. Let's chat. I'll be here for about 45, 50 more minutes, and just going to chat optimal health and happiness. So, as I was saying, the first aspect to health and happiness is putting yourself first. There's a concept, like my mom said this to me recently, and I've heard other people say it too, which is, if the plane is going down, you need to put your gas mask on first before you help somebody else. And I use that concept to guide me in life now, because it's really powerful. If you're not happy and healthy, then you can't help other people be happy and healthy. So this is why these concepts are super important in the grand scheme of your own health and happiness. So, hey, what's up, Cliff? I'm watching from 30,000 feet in the air, and you're spot on. Put yourself first. Appreciate you, Amir. Then you really got that oxygen mask right above you over there. Wow. That's so funny, bro. I'm like talking figuratively, and then boom, we got the homie in an airplane, Wait, did you say the plane is going down? So I was talking about, the concept of you can't help other people be happy and healthy if you don't put your own oxygen mask on first. When the plane is going down, you have to put your oxygen mask on first if you want to be able to help other people. And, you know, Cliff, one of the things that I see very commonly in the liberty movement is that people want to help the world so much that they're not helping themselves at all. And I say this from absolute experience of being in the movement for 13 years now. And for many of those years, I was spending so much time trying to get other people onto my lifeboat and putting their oxygen masks on that it never gave me time to fully put my mask on. It was like the mask was like this, like half on, and then I'm trying to help other people put the mask on, you know? So that concept of putting yourself first, growing up, we would hear things like, oh, you can't put yourself first because, you know, you have to think about other people. You can't think about other people if you're not putting yourself first. So that's as simple as it is. You cannot give others your all if you do not give yourself your all first. And the problem is that giving your all to yourself is a really long and hard practice to achieve. And I'm currently in the stage now where for the last few years of my life, I really have put myself first as a practice. And because of that practice, I've had so much success with my personal life, with my business, with my mental and physical health, you know, with just balance in general. And all of these things, when I'm saying it, it's like it just comes into balance. So, you know, the easy way to say this is I've sought balance and found where that balance lies. So, you know, that's why people need to start going down the road. And the first thing you need to tell yourself is, I matter first. My life matters first. And that's not selfish at all. Actually, I would say that's the opposite of selfishness, because if you are trying to help other people without being the fullest expression of yourself, then that's selfish in itself. So, because now you have all this stuff in your head, but you're not trained to properly express it. And, you know, I heard this really good quote years ago from a Shaolin monk. And he said, spirituality expressed is no longer spirituality. And that's one of the most difficult concepts for people who are trying to spread the message of peace, love, and freedom to the world. So, you know, you're trying to express all these ideas that are just inside of your soul. We are all born free. What's up, Sina? How you doing? So, hey, if y'all have any questions, please ask them in the comments. Let's get this chat and this live being a little interactive. I like talking, but I like talking to y'all too. I am here to answer questions because I can't respond to all of the messages that I get asking me these specific ass questions, you know? Like, I would love to answer them, but I have to put myself first. I have to put my business first. And, you know, that's like a very freeing concept where it's like, I'm sorry, my business hasn't done what it needs to do today. My personal life hasn't done what it needs to do today. So you don't come before those things that balance me come. So, you know, first you have to seek the balance internally, and then you can go and express yourself to others. So, you know, if I have time to respond to those messages, I will, and I do. But if I'm packaging up orders or trying to go do something or having a business call or something like that, then, hey, what's up, Aurora Spectacle? How you doing? Good to see you in here. You know, then I can't. And that's not selfish. Again, that's putting myself first, which means, hey, what's up, Sal? How you doing? You know, which means that I'm balanced and I'm the healthiest and happiest version of myself. So as a result, I won't lash out on others. And one of the big things that we're seeing today, you know, whenever there is some kind of drama, chaos going down in the world, people are on edge. And that is your body and mind telling you that if you're on edge, that's literally your body screaming to you. What's up, Victor? How you doing? That's literally your body screaming to you to get off the edge. And your spirit doesn't work like that. Your soul doesn't work like that. Your internal self does not work like that. You can't just be like, okay, get off the cliff. And then you get off the cliff, it just doesn't work that way. Unless you're extremely, extremely trained in these practices, then you eventually get to the point where you start realizing your reactivity based off of the different feelings that come in your physical body. So, these days when I realize okay, I need to get off social media, I start getting pains in certain areas of my body. And that to me is my spirit telling me, yo, bro, maybe you shouldn't be sitting like this right now, and you should go outside and sit with a tree without your phone and just witness your life and nature and seek balance through that. It's having the discipline to know when enough is enough. And the best way to go down this road is to integrate a daily mental health and physical health practice into your life, whether it's a practice or many practices. I have many practices. I don't think that you should start with all of the practices that I personally do, which took me years to accomplish. When I talk about Shaolin Kung Fu, I started that when I was 6 years old. That was the first time I ever meditated, So that's why I say start with some meditation, download the Wim Hof Method app. It's free, and do it every day. I've been doing the Wim Hof Method every single day since 2016. The breath work, the cold showers, the cold therapy, and it's drastically changed my life. Anytime I feel imbalanced, anytime I have muscle pains, mental pains, I go outside, I do a few rounds of this breath work, and I call it the Wim Hof Method breath work. However, this breath work is seen across cultures throughout centuries. So, you could look at this as just a form of Kundalini yoga. In Shaolin Kung Fu, they have similar breathwork styles, Qigong. So, these styles exist outside of the Wim Hof Method. The great thing about the Wim Hof Method is that he went into labs and did actual scientific research using the scientific method, double-blind studies, and he proved his concepts using the scientific method. And that's the hard thing about a lot of these spiritual practices, is that they're very hard to put the scientific lens on, because a lot of the spiritual stuff doesn't follow the scientific method. However, a lot of it can still follow the scientific method. So that's the really awesome thing about what Wim Hof has done, is that he's taken a super spiritual practice, a generations old spiritual practice, and now taken it into modern science, use the scientific method. And that's why I was sold on it originally, because years back, I was the kind of guy who was like, well, if there isn't hard research for this, then I'm not going to even think about it, And a lot of the concepts that I believe in are because I've been sold using legitimate science. So, the cool thing is, even a lot of these spiritual practices are being represented by science. And that's the really awesome thing. Actually, here, I'm going to read you a list of studies. I wrote an article, I don't know, probably a few months ago. And where are my articles? And this article was called yoga and meditation. Is it science or faith? And I'm going to find this right now. Give me 1 second. And this is just a list of studies that shows, there we go, here it is. It shows you that these concepts are extremely scientific now. They use the scientific method, and it's really hard to debate against concepts like yoga, meditation, breath work, when the science is supporting it now. You know, a lot of the hate that was coming from these concepts was like, well, you can't prove it with the scientific method. Okay, well, now you can. So what you gonna say now? You know, I wrote this article called Science or Faith, Yoga, Meditation, and Breath Work. And here, I'm just gonna read a few studies that are very recent, like around the last 10 years. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask them in the comments. Let's chat. A 2010 study titled Effects of Yoga versus Walking on Mood, Anxiety, and Brain GABA Levels, a randomized control MRS study, showed normalization of neurotransmitters in anxiety and depression. A 2013 review titled Awakening is Not a Metaphor, The Effects of Buddhist Meditation Practices on Basic Wakefulness, concluded that traditional Buddhist formulations and a host of recent subjective behavioral and neuroimaging studies of meditation suggest that Buddhist meditation practices may promote greater wakefulness and lower sleep propensity, especially as practice progresses. And this is one of my favorite studies because, hey, what's up, Yuri? How you doing? This is one of my favorite studies because this is one of the Wim Hof studies. So this study was done in 2014 with Wim Hof, and it was called Voluntary Activation of the Sympathetic Nervous System and Attenuation of Innate Immune Response in Humans. This study concluded that the present proof of principle study demonstrates that the sympathetic nervous system and immune system can be voluntarily influenced through practicing techniques that are relatively easy to learn within a short time frame. It therefore could have important implications for the treatment of a variety of conditions associated with excessive or persistent inflammation, especially autoimmune diseases. Now, the wild thing, hey, Helia, how you doing? The wild thing about this study is that up until this study, there was a claim that the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, your fight and flight, your rest and digest, are not controlled. They're involuntary mechanisms. And what Wim Hof showed in this research is that you have full control of your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, which means that you control your fight or flight, you control your rest and digest, and all you have to do is simple breathwork techniques to, hey, Guadalupe, how you doing, girl? Good to see you. Simple techniques to control something that up until 2014, when they did this study, or maybe it was like a little before too, but you know, when Wim Hof was talking about this stuff, that everybody in the medical mainstream was saying this is impossible. They even said that in the study. This is not possible. When you listen to the researchers, they're like, we didn't think this was possible, and this guy's doing it. So more research. A 2015 review titled Meditation and Yoga Can Modulate Brain Mechanisms That Affect Behavior and Anxiety, a Modern Scientific Perspective, concluded, our brains do not contain fixed hardwiring. The neural pathways and circuits can in fact change with learning and with mental exercises. And meditation may be a harmless way to encourage the growth of new neurons, which is neurogenesis, along with the formation of new connections between existing neurons. So that's synaptogenesis. What's up, Bando? How you doing, bro? So the research is here. When people say things like, oh, there isn't enough research, what they're telling you most likely is, I personally haven't gone and done the due diligence to find out if there is enough research or not. So I'm just going to say there isn't enough research. This is what the mainstream does with every concept that they do not want to go do the due diligence and research. Now, I'm going to show you when I research cannabis. So I'm on PubMed right now. I'm typing in cannabis, and I'm just going to show you how many results I get. 22,000 476 results. Hey, what's up? Sonoluminescence is in the house. We are talking health and happiness right now. If y'all have any questions, please feel free to ask. In that time, check out speckercbd.com too. I am the CEO and product formulator of Specker. We make optimal health and biohacking products. I formulated them myself to originally help with my aches and pains, and that's why I use it all the time, every day, and I always have it around me. So, and we got these awesome shirts. So shameless plug, support small business. We're watching a transitional period in history right now where big corporations and even small businesses that don't have safe and secure business models are failing. So, I am trying very hard to set Specker up as a business of the future, and the future is now. So, we are in a place in the world where over the next 6 months to 1 year, we've already seen it over the last 4 months, we're just watching one business after another fail. And, one of my arguments about business is that if you don't set up your business model to handle war, famine, nuclear war, an invading army, then your business model wasn't that strong to begin with. Your business model was primarily set to promote good times, and it wasn't set to promote bad times. And if that's the case, then your business is not going to survive, because if it can only survive during certain times, then that's why we're seeing so many of these businesses fail right now, because they didn't prepare for bad times. A lot of these businesses started in the last 10 years, which were the good times. So, if you're trying to start a business, my recommendation is have a disaster plan in your business. And, when I would talk to people about this over the years, they'd be like, oh, you don't have to, why do you think about these things? That's never going to happen. And when somebody tells me something like that's never going to happen, it's like, well, you clearly don't follow history at all. That will happen, and that's happened here in this country before. So, again, it's going back to the whole research thing. Just because these people didn't do the research and the due diligence doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. So, this, an appeal to ignorance would be the name of the logical fallacy that this is. So back to reading a few of these study titles, because this is really important. Because when I started going down this road, I was like, okay, I need to recognize that if I'm going to go into the mainstream world and promote these concepts, then I need to have strong backing, because I've spent many years having a lot of shit talked to me from people who just aren't with it, but they're being really mean. So a lot of that meanness sticks with me, and it makes me raise my standards so that these people can't actually get me on these points anymore. And that's why it's before I would say, oh, do yoga and meditate, but I didn't have the scientific method to support me. Now I do. So a 2016 study titled "The Role of Outcome Expectancies for a Training Program Consisting of Meditation, Breathing Exercises, and Cold Exposure on the Response of Endotoxin Administration." This study concluded that this is the first study to suggest that optimism contributes to an increased autonomic and repressed evoked immune response in a standardized and reproducible experimental inflammation model. And it provides the first indications for potential innovative treatments to change immune modulating responses by means of psychological mechanisms. So just being optimistic is enough to change your immune system. Part of my meditation practices during the day consists of smiling and laughing, forcing myself like this. Just forcing yourself to do that, even if you're not happy, puts you in a certain mindset to where you become happy, and it's wild. It's literally rewiring your mind and body. So let's see, Daniel, what do you think about kettlebell exercises? I've been getting into it. It's some badass Russian methods. You know what, Daniel? I would say go with more badass Russian methods and do body weight calisthenics. I don't really fuck with weights too much. I spent many years being a weightlifter, bodybuilding and powerlifting and stuff, and it's not functional at all. The movements are not optimal. Especially when you're regularly doing them. Like I'll throw around some kettlebells every once in a while, but the majority of my workouts are freestyle calisthenics, yoga, whether that's like a vinyasa flow or a yin yoga flow, and then martial arts. So, I'll do iron body training, I'll do different, cardio training, but a lot of these techniques have more to do, or just as much to do with the mental as they do the physical. So when I do my exercises, they're mind and body practices, and throwing around heavy weights is not really a mind and body practice. And it's important to know that over the last year I've gained 30 pounds of lean muscle just being on a keto blueprint. So I am pretty much full carnivore now, which means that I only eat animal products for the most part. The only plants I really consume are like cannabinoids, like CBD, and the carrier in this is MCT. It's a coconut derived MCT, so like coconut oil, but it's not coconut oil because it's just MCT, so it's 99% C8 and C10 MCTs. And hey, shout out Cliff, truth bombs. Keep up your message, Amir. Keep up your message, brother. You do you, my friend. Happy to have met you on the Facebooks. What does the name Specker mean, and or where did it originate? Hey, Daniel, you should read that latest article that was written about me. And it talks about that in a little more detail. But Specker comes from full spectrum because I was asking myself the question, what do I do? What do I do? And I do everything. That was the answer in my mind. And I got the name through meditation, actually. I went into deep states of meditation until the universe hit me with it. And I was like, all right, this is the name. And, I also had to not make it too close to other companies' names so that they wouldn't sue me for intellectual property in the future. So, I had that concept in my mind too. So Specker is short for full spectrum because we do everything, and you can look at the business model of Specker to see that it's a business where we're selling products like this, but it's also a free educational platform. If you go on Specker's social media, if you go on, what's up, Pablo? How you doing? If you go on the Instagram, the YouTube, any of the social media that Specker has, it's full of free educational content where I go and I literally take just, oh my God, countless hours to make these different pieces of educational content that are easily digestible for people that don't have a background in science. Now, that is the really difficult task that I have to fulfill, where on one side I have people being like, this is too hard to understand, and then on the other side I have people saying this needs to be more specified. And it's I am trying to find a common ground here, y'all. This is a really, really hard common ground to find, to meet in the middle of PhD level science and somebody who doesn't know biology 101. So, and me coming from a background of where I'm shit, I don't know anything about science, and then I had to teach myself, and then, going down the road of becoming super proficient in a bunch of different kinds of sciences, I therefore have the ability to find a safe middle ground. And I think I do a really good job of translating hard to understand science into easily digestible information, because one of the big things with the science world is they say all these big words and then people are like, I don't know what the fuck you mean, dude. Okay, give me the medicine you need to give me, and then that's how the system continues. 1 second, I gotta put my shit on my charger real quick, because of course. Always tempting. There we go. All right. The boy back. So, dang it. All right. Gotta put that on this charger. I should always do this before, and then I never do, and then my videos start lagging. So, to mitigate that this time, let's just charge. Hey, what's up, Ruby? How you doing? If anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask them in the comments. We are out here chatting about health and happiness. So I have a few more of these studies that I want to read. And as I was saying, with what I do with these Specker facts and the educational platform that I provide with Specker, that is not just about CBD. It's about everything. So all of the things that bring mind and body into balance is Specker. And that is pretty much everything. Hey, what's up, brother? I miss you too, man. I hope you're doing awesome. You're always in my heart. So another study here, a 2016 study titled Mindful Attention to Breath Regulates Emotions Via Increased Amygdala Prefrontal Cortex Connectivity, found attention to breath reduces emotional responses in the amygdala, and amygdala prefrontal cortex functional connectivity increases during attention to breath, and that's ATB in this study. So this is very, very important stuff here, guys. And the amygdala is it's like in the cerebral, it's gray matter inside of the cerebral hemisphere. And that's what's involved in like emotions, experiencing emotions and stuff. So it's like it is the source of fear and sadness. It's the source of happiness and anxiety. And so that's the crazy thing about the human brain, is that it's so specialized. If we just really recognize the computers and the powerful magicians that we are, the world's going to change really fast. And that's part of what I try to do with Specker's business model, is show people that you are the master of your own life. Nobody rules your own life. You are the authority. Nobody is an authority above you. So the next study is a 2018 study titled Coupling of Respiration and Attention via the Locus Coeruleus. That was like a hard one for me to even like get when I was reading. See, so part of what I do with a lot of my research is I will literally be like, what does that even mean? And then I have to go figure out like what these things mean. So it's a very, very awakening practice to do this, and I would recommend everybody do the same thing. Like, just go read studies, and if you don't know a word, Google the word, and that's it. So yeah, like the coeruleus, the locus coeruleus, is in the brain, and it's part of it creates the synthesis of norepinephrine. So like with noradrenaline. So like this is a very powerful system in the body. And I was just reading a study about CBD and norepinephrine yesterday. Damn, I wish I had that right here. But all right, so I didn't even finish the title of the study, but effects of meditation and pranayama. So it explains for the first time the neurophysiological link between breathing and attention. So, when people say these things like, oh, I have ADD, like, well, how much breath work do you do during the day? Oh, none? Yeah, no shit. So, I used to use that excuse too, like, oh, but I have ADD. That's just an excuse for not doing mental health practices and physical health practices. So, if you do the breath work, you won't have ADD. If you stop eating carbohydrates every day, you won't have the ADD. So, I tell you this from experience. They told me I was a hyper child, but why was I hyper? Because they were injecting me with vaccines, feeding me sugar every day, and then telling me that I am too hyper and I need to sit down. And it's like, bro, you're pumping me with drugs all day, like stressors, So That's the problem, is that people want to blame everything but themselves. And, for me, I blame everything on myself. So that's part of how to be happy and healthy. When you take responsibility for every single thing in your life and can't find a way to blame anybody else for anything, then you're on the winning path. So a 2018 study titled How Breath Control Can Change Your Life, a systematic review on psychophysiological correlates of slow breathing. Slow, and that's the cool thing, is that within breathwork science, there is research on fast breathing, there's research on slow breathing. So this study concluded evidence of increased psychophysiological flexibility linking parasympathetic activity, CNS activities related to emotional control, and psychological well-being in healthy subjects during slow breathing techniques. So this 2019 review titled, and if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask in the comments. I'm going to be here for about 20 more minutes. And then I'm going to get back to work for the rest of the night. So this study was titled Effects of Yogic Breath Regulation, a narrative review of scientific evidence. So what this review did is they searched pranayama and yogic breathing on PubMed, PubMed Central, and IndMed. So just like I did earlier here with, hey, what's up, y'all? What's up, crew? What's up, Sylvia? How you doing? We are talking health and happiness. So I'm just reading studies right now that talk about breath work, because everybody wants to talk about all of these spiritual, hey, Julian, what's up? Everybody wants to talk about all these spiritual concepts, but nobody wants to actually prove them. So, we can all go say whatever we want, but to get the mainstream to accept our beliefs, we have to use their methods against them. So just like I did earlier with how I went on PubMed and I typed in cannabis and then I found 22,476 results. So that means there are 22,476 different results here on PubMed that has the word cannabis in the study. And the majority of these studies are showing the safety of cannabis. They're not showing how they're bad. It's like, because you can't. When you do the research on cannabis and cannabinoids, it's hard to prove that it's bad. So what I was saying was, this study, this review, they went in and typed in pranayama and yogic breathing on PubMed, PubMed Central, and IndMed. They found 1,400 references, and they concluded pranayama or yogic breathing practices were found to influence the neurocognitive abilities, autonomic and pulmonary functions, as well as the biomechanical and metabolic activities in the body. So what is this? Hey, what's up, Payam? How you doing? So what is this telling us? This is literally telling us that there is clear research that exists, and anybody who is saying at this point in 2020 that there isn't enough research is just fucking lying. It's an appeal to ignorance. I'm too ignorant to know what the answer is, therefore it doesn't exist. And that's not how I do things in this world. I need hard evidence before I'm going to believe any concept, even if that concept is spiritual. That's the wild thing. A lot of the spiritual practices that I do today are rooted in science. So it's really cool. And the thing is, once you look at the full spectrum of the scientific method and what's going on outside of the mainstream narrative, you start finding that there's a lot of research that supports our ideas, the ideas of optimal health, freedom, crew. All of those things are labeled as autonomous. We can control the system. Feeling is believing. Yes, bro. So actually, I think you came in before I read this one, but I'm going to read the name of this study, just read about this study again, because this is one of my favorite ones out of this list. So I wrote this article about yoga and meditation, is it science or is it faith? And so this 2016 study, and crew, one of the reasons that I feel I resonate so hard with your soul too is because we're really good at doing this through whatever shitty situations. So this 2016 study was titled "The Role of Outcome Expectancies for a Training Program Consisting of Meditation, Breathing Exercises, and Cold Exposure on the Response of Endotoxin Administration." So this study concluded this is the first study to suggest that optimism contributes to an increased autonomic and repressed evoked immune response in a standardized and reproducible experimental inflammation model. Reproducible. So do you see that's a very important word in scientific research, because you'll find a lot of the times they'll be like, oh, you can't reproduce this study. Well, you know what's funny? You can't reproduce a lot of the GMO studies. You can't reproduce a lot of the vaccine studies, a lot of the pesticide studies, like all of these things that are trying to prove that, you know, oh, what's up, Roger? We got Roger the dog here, my boy. So that's the thing, is that they're throwing this shit at us when they can't even prove the same thing with their studies. So that was the whole thing with the coronavirus hysteria. I was like, wait a minute, you guys aren't using the scientific method with your own shit. How the hell are you going to be throwing this back on us? Like, you just had a bunch of health officials going out and saying like, yeah, so these hypothetical models said this, so now it's the scientific method. Look how they're doing the vaccines right now. They're like, we're going to have a vaccine ready by fall. What? Where's your long-term double-blind research? And then when they do the double-blind studies, this is the crazy thing about the coronavirus vaccine that they're doing it with. They're not using a real double-blind study. They're using their placebo is another vaccine. That's not a placebo. So literally, they push these ideas onto us, they beat it into our heads, they go to the government and call the government on people that promote ideas that go against theirs because they're not using the scientific method, and then at the same exact time, they're not using any of those standards themselves. So, you know, this is why I go so hard in the realm of science, and this is why I implore everybody who is watching this right now to literally just go on PubMed, stop watching documentaries on Netflix, stop watching some fucking regurgitation of some dude on YouTube who has no training at all, and he watched some documentary, now he's in front of his video just talking. Like, just stop listening to these people. The whole point of my business model of Specker is to be the master of your own life. So, you know, that starts with, you shouldn't let other people dictate what you know is right or wrong with science. So now that I can read the scientific research myself and I understand what almost all these words mean, I'm sitting there going like, oh man, y'all can't win if everybody learns these styles. Now, it's important to know, the sciences were my worst subjects growing up. I remember when I got a C in chemistry in high school, and I was devastated because I had never studied so hard for a class to get a fucking C. Like, I didn't study in high school and I got A's and B's just throughout high school. And the one time I decided, I was like, I really want to go hard at this, I got a C. I just couldn't understand it because the way that they're explaining these concepts is so just like not connected to the real world that there's no practicality. So in my mind, it's like there's no connectivity here. So breathing control helps both instinctive behavior and conscious behavior. Yeah, see, the cool thing is that breath work helps connect your conscious and subconscious mind. And, you know, part of your subconscious and conscious mind is trying to bring the balance so that your body doesn't do anything subconsciously or unconsciously, so that, you know, you're not paying attention to it on the forefront of your mind. And part of what I do is, when you can connect your mind and body, you know, consciousness becomes a single entity. There is no, you know, from my experience, there's no subconscious and conscious. It all becomes your conscious, and the things that you don't focus on and can't gauge yet are just unconscious thoughts that you need to bring into the balance. So Cruz says, yes, man, the silver lining is so much easier to find with the help of the breath. Yeah, see, like, anytime I have questions, and you know, Crew, like the thing I was talking about earlier is like, how did I come up with the name Specker? How did I envision this literal logo in my mind? I sat in a deep meditation. It was like 4 a.m. I remember, when like that night I told myself, I am going to sit in meditation. I will stay up until the sun comes up if I have to. The universe will give me a sign. And then the universe gave me the sign. So that's the amazing thing about doing the breath work. Sylvia, breath work is the strongest medicine for free. You know what's crazy? Okay, so check it out. So in this article of mine that I was just reading, y'all, after I'm done with the studies, I write, it's free, it's optimal, it's essential, it works. So that's the cool thing, is that, like, the way I look at this is that if you are aware of these practices and you still don't want to integrate them into your life, then fuck the fuck away from me, dude. Like, stop wasting my fucking energetic space kind of thing. Like, you won't do 30... You won't do that 30 times? Or like, you won't take really slow breaths in and out your nose? If that is too hard for you, then, you know, if this simulation is a place where you come to learn and then you leave, then what that tells me is that, you know, this round that you have in this simulation might not be the one for you. And maybe it'll be the next round. However, you have the ability inside of you to be the master of your life in every timeline if you choose it. So that's why these concepts are so powerful, because every single person can do them. You know, my goal in the future is, I'm thinking about going back into politics and stuff, and I'm like, man, I need to do some breath work and meditation. You know, it's a crazy concept, or just like an experience that I had when I was in politics. When I was the chairman of a Republican Central Committee in California, they do invocations before the meetings, and what that means is a Christian prayer. So I remember one time we did like a non-denominational one, and then one time we did like a spiritual meditation that was non-denominational, and oh, you should have seen those social conservatives. Because a lot of these people, like the social conservatives, think that concepts like yoga and meditation are like going against Christian doctrine. But in reality, when you study, you know, even Christian mysticism, you find that these concepts are like very normalized. So, you know, being one with the soul and doing certain physical and mental practices, like, it's not a crazy concept. You know, these are battles that have been happening in big religions for centuries, whether it's Christianity or Judaism or Islam, Buddhism. There have always been battles between the good and the evil. And sadly, because of certain instances in history, the evil has really dominated. But now we're in the transitional phase in humanity, and it is our time to dominate with peace and love. So Cruz says, yeah, the village structure is going to be so much more prolific. No one is going to trust any politicians they don't know personally. See, exactly, that they don't know personally. Like, I don't know you. I don't know that politician. Like, you make rules for my life. You don't know me. I don't know you. Get the fuck away from me. You know, it's the same concept as we would do to a random person in the street. Like, I don't know you. Get the fuck away from me, bro. Like, what the fuck you doing in my space? You know, like, what? Like, it's the same thing. So I look at that the absolute same as politics, you know, where everything should be as local as possible. And then from there, we will achieve true balance. So I love you too, bro. I'm so glad you're here. You know, Pablo, you say high IQ hi, Mom. High IQ curse. You know what the thing is that the thing about high IQ is that if you don't have high emotional intelligence, then you're not going to be able to maneuver much. And that's the thing, is that IQ is important, but your emotional intelligence and your adaptability intelligence. This is a concept I just recently heard about, which is adaptability intelligence. Like, how well can you adapt? And, you know, hearing like a lot of CEOs aren't very good at adaptability intelligence. So, you know, they'll have good emotional intelligence, they'll have a high IQ, but then when you have to ask them to adapt to a new scenario that they're not used to, then they freak out, they pause, they can't do anything, you know. Ellie, let's see. Hey, what's up, Megan? How you doing? Hey, I miss your fantastic energy. You know, when we used to work together, that was one of the most awakening moments that I ever had in my life that really like kickstarted me into that next phase. And it was such an honor and pleasure working with you and all the other people that we worked with, because like we really had a, high spiritual gang out there with the fear of getting raided by the government every single day of work, if you remember that, and that wasn't too fun. Right wingers are so fragile. You know what the thing is? Anybody who still adheres to government based philosophies is going to be fragile in one way or another. And that's why you got to remove yourself from this little bubble that people have. Hey, what's up, my bro? How you doing? And from there, you get to look from the outside in. You become the true observer. And that is what I recommend, and that is what you get through years of daily meditation. You get to just remove yourself from the situation. It's really hard. I'm giving this advice. I'm still practicing this stuff myself. So, giving yourself this power is extremely valuable in life, in your business and in your personal life. A lot of my advice that I give on health and happiness absolutely crosses over into business life as well. So, these are, hey, what's up? We got all of the old crew out here. The Green Bear crew, the scared of getting raided by the government every day just for going to work crew. Y'all remember that? Like that's a crazy thing too, because now that cannabis is super legalized and people don't have to worry about people are still getting raided, but hey, what's up? The dankest vanilla in the house. So as I was saying, these concepts are accessible, they're free, and they're essential too. You cannot be one with yourself if you do not adhere to these concepts. So, before I finish, because it's about to be 8, so I got a few more minutes here. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask. I've been here for about an hour now, just chatting about how to be healthy and happy through chaos. And, what just happened was forget all the other recommendations. Like, we started out with CBD. CBD is important too, because, what I didn't mention is that the power of your endocannabinoid system has the power to balance your body. And that is what the endocannabinoid system essentially does. It promotes homeostasis, which literally is just the scientific word for balance. So, it's you could look at it as like a homeostatic booster. So that's why phytocannabinoids are so important, because you have your endocannabinoid system inside your body. And what these phytocannabinoids do for you is they boost your endocannabinoids and therefore your endocannabinoid system. So, yes, I have studied Marcus Aurelius. I remember I started reading that book, Meditations, but I never finished it many years ago. And one of the things I was talking about was the actual scientific concepts, because that's what I was talking about earlier, was that through history, a lot of these concepts were just talked about from a spiritual standpoint, and now we have the research. So I appreciate the times more than I did in the past, but damn, were we scared back then. I was scared shitless, Megan. Literally, I remember just looking at those cameras that we had all day, sitting in the back. Are we gonna get raided? Are we gonna get raided? I had my exit plan. My bag was always ready to run out of that bitch and be I don't know. And that's it's crazy the things that we had to do in the cannabis industry to get to this point. Because I argue that we would never have been to this point right now if we didn't engage in those insane acts of civil disobedience, where it was legal, but it wasn't legal. And it was legal, but we could still get raided, and all of us could still get arrested for just working there or even being there. So I got 1 minute left on this on my Instagram. So I'm just going to cut this soon because it's going to just cut Anyway, shout out to everybody who is here. I'm going to be doing these lives pretty regularly. And before I go, please support me and my small business, speckercbd.com. Share it with your friends and family. Use discount code Amir. This is the business model of the future, and I'm really trying to grow it to the top of the top so we can really express a new style of business. So thank you so much, Megan. Great times with you. I love you too. Dankus Padilla. Take it easy. I love all of you guys. Chat soon. Peace and love. Go meditate.